I'm Sarah Miller, 26, and I was engaged to Ryan, the most incredible man I'd ever met. Ryan hailed from a world of immense wealth, a world entirely unfamiliar to me. His family commanded a vast real estate empire, and he was destined to inherit it. But none of that mattered to me. I grew up in a humble yet loving home, earning my living as a preschool teacher. Ryan loved me for who I was, not for what I possessed. And for the first time, I felt truly seen and valued. However, his mother, Judith, detested me from the outset. She was convinced I was solely interested in their fortune. And no matter how kind or respectful I tried to be, she made it unequivocally clear that I would never be accepted. Judith's contempt was overt, seeping into every interaction. She'd offer snide remarks about my attire, my seeming sweetness, yet lack of polish, or how Ryan needed someone capable of navigating their high-pressure world. I attempted to dismiss it, telling myself she was merely testing me. But deep down, it stung. Ryan, of course, was oblivious to this side of her. In his presence, she was charming and affectionate, the quintessential mother. She never openly criticized me when he was around, but I felt her icy stares and caught her condescending tone. When I tried to discuss it with Ryan, he'd dismiss my concerns, saying things like, "She just needs time, Sarah. She's protective of me. That's all." I wanted to believe him, so I kept quiet. Escalating tensions and betrayal, however. As Ryan and I drew closer to setting a wedding date, things escalated. Judith's comments sharpened, and her subtle jabs transformed into outright accusations. One evening, while Ryan was out, she cornered me in the hallway. "You're not fooling anyone, you know," she stated, her voice low but resolute. "Ryan might be too blind to see it, but I know your type." Poor girl lashes on to the first rich man who shows her attention. Classic. I stood there, dumbfounded, unsure how to respond. I wasn't after Ryan's money, and I'd done nothing to suggest otherwise. But Judith wasn't interested in the truth. She had already made up her mind about me. Initially, I told myself I could endure it. Ryan and I loved each other, and that was all that mattered. But the relentless tension, the whispered insults, and her manipulative tactics to portray me as the villain began to chip away at me. Still, I never imagined she would go as far as she eventually did. One evening, after another strained encounter with Judith, I called my best friend, Erica. She had always been my confidant during difficult times, and I desperately needed to vent. "I don't know what to do anymore, Erica," I confessed, pacing my small apartment. "Judith makes me feel like a criminal for loving Ryan. It's like she's waiting for me to fail so she can say, 'I told you so.'" Erica sighed on the other end of the line. "That woman has issues. Sarah, you've done nothing wrong. If anything, you've gone above and beyond to be nice to her. It's not your fault she's stuck in her high society bubble." I slumped onto the couch, massaging my temples. "It's not just the insults. She says untrue things to Ryan about me too, and I don't know how much longer I can take it. I love him, but it's like I'm fighting a losing battle." "Have you told Ryan everything?" Erica inquired. I hesitated. "Not really. I mean, I've mentioned it here and there, but he dismisses it. He doesn't see what she's like when he's not around." Erica's voice soft. "Sarah, you need to tell him. He loves you. He deserves to know what she's doing." "I know. I said quietly. But what if it just makes things worse? The following days offered no respite. I tried to gather the courage to have a frank conversation with Ryan about his mother, but each time I brought it up, I hesitated. He was already juggling so much work, wedding plans, and his own struggles with sobriety. The last thing I wanted was to burden him further. A troubling shift one night. I met Erica at our usual coffee shop, hoping she'd offer the clarity I needed. Do you think I'm being paranoid? I asked, stirring my tea, the anxiety in my chest threatening to overflow. Judith's been worse lately. It's like she's building towards something, but I can't quite figure out what. Erica looked up from her phone, her response delayed. I don't know, Sarah. Maybe you're just overthinking it. She's his mom. Moms can be difficult sometimes. I frowned, taken aback by her tone. Erica had always been my staunchest defender when it came to Judith. You really think I'm overthinking it? She shrugged, taking a sip of her latte. I mean, it's not like she's done anything major. Maybe she's just protective, like Ryan says. Her words felt off as if she was brushing me aside. At the time, I didn't dwell on it, assuming she was merely distracted or having a bad day. But later, I would realize this was the turning point, the moment everything began to fall apart. Over the next few weeks, Erica grew increasingly distant. It wasn't just the dismissive comments. She started evading my calls, replying to texts hours later or not at all. When we did speak, she seemed preoccupied, barely listening to what I was saying. I tried not to take it personally at first. Everyone has their own issues, right? But deep down, it troubled me. Erica had always been my anchor, the one person I could rely on. Now, when I needed her most, she felt like a stranger. Judith, on the other hand, seemed to sense my vulnerability. She intensified her charm around Ryan, constantly sowing seeds of doubt about me. I once overheard her telling him, "You deserve someone who understands our world. Ryan, someone who will build you up, not hold you back." The walls felt as if they were closing in, and for the first time, I felt truly isolated. The shocking revelation one afternoon, Ryan mentioned that his mom wanted us to come over for tea. She says she wants to make an effort, he told me, his tone hopeful. Maybe she's finally warming up to you. I didn't believe it for a second. But for Ryan's sake, I agreed to go. If there was even the slightest chance Judith was willing to change, I wanted to give her the opportunity. Upon arriving at her house, I was already on edge. Judith greeted us with her customary overly polite smile, but the moment I stepped into the living room, my stomach plummeted. Erica was sitting on the couch, sipping tea as if she belonged there. "Sarah," Erica exclaimed, feigning surprise, though her eyes darted nervously to Judith. "What a coincidence! I was just catching up with Judith." I froze, glancing at Ryan, who looked puzzled but didn't seem to think anything of it. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice tight. Judith's smile widened. "Oh, I thought it would be nice for all of us to sit down together. Your good friend Erica has been very helpful lately." The room suddenly felt too small, the air too heavy. I sat down stiffly, every instinct screaming that something was amiss. "I didn't know you two knew each other," I said, my voice laced with confusion as I looked between Judith and Erica. Judith raised an eyebrow, her expression deliberately casual. "Oh, we've crossed paths here and there," she said smoothly, reaching for her tea. "Erica has been such a dear. It's always nice to have someone who truly cares about Ryan. My stomach twisted at her words. I turned to Erica, searching her face for some kind of explanation, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Instead, she gave a half-hearted shrug and mumbled, "Yeah, it just kinda happened. Judith's been really supportive." Supportive of what? I thought. The whole thing felt wrong, but Ryan didn't seem to notice. He just leaned back in his chair, sipping his tea, oblivious to the tension brewing right in front of him. Judith set her teacup down with a delicate clink and leaned back, her eyes flicking toward Erica. "Well," she said, her tone light but loaded, "since we're all here, I think it's time to address something important. Erica, dear, why don't you tell Ryan what you told me?" My heart dropped, a cold wave of panic washing over me. "What are you talking about?" I asked, looking between them. Erica hesitated, her hands fidgeting with her cup. She finally glanced at Ryan, her expression grave. "Ryan?" I didn't want to say anything, but I can't keep this to myself anymore. She paused for effect, glancing at Judith, who nodded encouragingly. I saw Sarah with another guy. The room went silent except for the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. "What?" I said, my voice shaking. "Erica, what are you talking about? That's not true. You're lying. Why are you doing this?" She finally met my eyes, and for a second, I thought I saw something there. Guilt, hesitation, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "I'm not lying, Sarah. I didn't want to say anything, but I couldn't just let Ryan keep living a lie." I repeated, my voice breaking as tears streamed down my face. "You're supposed to be my best friend. Why are you doing this?" "I've never cheated on Ryan. Never. You know me." Ryan stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. His hands were shaking as he turned to Erica. "You're sure about this?" he asked, his voice tight with barely contained emotion. "I'm sure," Erica said, her tone soft but resolute. "I saw it with my own eyes. I'm sorry, Ryan. I thought you deserved to know." I couldn't stop crying. I felt trapped, like the walls were closing in around me. "Ryan, please," I begged, reaching for his hand. "You have to believe me. I don't know why she's saying this, but it's not true. I love you. I've never done anything like that." He pulled his hand back, his eyes filled with anger and hurt. "How could you do this, Sarah?" he shouted. "How could you lie to me after everything we've been through?" I started, but he cut me off. "Get the hell out of here," he said, his voice trembling with rage. "I can't even look at you right now." I froze, my legs weak and my heart shattered. I looked at Erica one last time, hoping for some sign that she'd break and tell the truth, but she just avoided my eyes, staring down at her cup. Without another word, I grabbed my bag and stumbled out of the house, tears blurring my vision. I couldn't comprehend what had just transpired or why Erica would betray me like that. All I knew was that my world had just crumbled. The fallout. And a desperate next few days were a blur of tears and unanswered calls. I tried everything, texting, calling, even showing up at Ryan's apartment, but he wouldn't answer. The few times I knocked on his door, I could hear movement inside, but he never came to open it. Each attempt left me more broken than the last. I'd stand outside his building, my hands trembling as I tried to compose yet another message, hoping this one would somehow get through to him. "Ryan, please just let me explain. You know me. You know I would never do this to you." But each text went unread. the little delivered mark mocking me every time. Erica, too, offered no explanation. She ignored every call, and when I sent her a long message asking why she lied, I got nothing but silence. The betrayal from my best friend hurt almost as much as losing Ryan. I couldn't wrap my head around it. We'd been through everything together. Why would she do this to me? I barely slept, replaying that moment in Judith's house over and over in my head. I kept thinking about the look on Ryan's face, the hurt, the anger, the betrayal. It haunted me. I felt like my heart had been ripped out, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. As much as I was hurting, I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan. He wasn't just angry. He was devastated, betrayed by the same lie that had torn my world apart. It hit me then that he wasn't just another victim of Judith's manipulation. In a way, he was the primary target. Her actions had shattered him just as much as they'd shattered me, and in some ways, even more. I tried reaching out to Ryan again, determined to get through to him this time, but it was futile. Every call went straight to voicemail, and every message remained unread. I even went to his apartment again, but when I knocked, there was no response. The silence was unbearable. Meanwhile, the updates from Alex and others grew more alarming. Ryan wasn't just missing work. He was skipping his recovery meetings, avoiding his friends, and spending time in the worst parts of town. The person they described wasn't the Ryan I knew. He was slipping further and further away, and I felt powerless to stop it. It was late. One evening, when I heard a knock at my door, I wasn't expecting anyone, so I hesitated before opening it. When I did, I was stunned to see Judith standing there. She looked nothing like the composed, icy woman I was used to. Her hair was a mess, her face pale, and her eyes red as if she'd been crying for hours. "Sarah," she said, her voice trembling, "please, I need your help." I stared at her, barely believing what I was seeing. "Judith?" I said, my tone sharp. "Why are you here?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, wringing her hands as if trying to hold herself together. "It's Ryan," she finally said, her voice cracking. He's fallen apart. He's using again, and I don't know what to do." I folded my arms, the bitterness rising in my chest. "What do you want me to do about it, Judith? You made it pretty clear what you think of me." Her eyes filled with fresh tears, and she sank into the nearest chair. "I was wrong," she whispered, "about everything. I thought I was protecting him, but all I've done is destroy him and you." Judith's hands trembled as she clasped them tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah," she began, her voice breaking, "I've made a terrible mistake. I thought I was doing the right thing for Ryan, but I've only hurt him and you. I've hurt you both so much." I stayed silent, watching her unravel. The composed, cold woman I'd known was gone, replaced by someone desperate and broken. "I lied," she admitted, her voice barely audible, "about everything. The affair, ... Erica. It was all me. I made it up." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "I wanted to end your relationship. I thought you weren't good enough for Ryan. I thought you were going to ruin his life." I felt my chest tighten as the weight of her words hit me. "You lied?" I said, my voice shaking. "You paid Erica to say those things?" Judith nodded. sobs growing louder. Yes, I paid her $100,000 to tell Ryan you were cheating. I thought if he believed it, he'd end things with you. And he'd find someone I approved of. Her voice cracked as she continued, but I was wrong. Sarah, so wrong. You've been nothing but good for him, and I was too blind to see it. I shook my head, anger bubbling to the surface. You didn't just hurt me, Judith. You destroyed him. Do you see what he's become because of you? He's back on drugs? He's lost and he's hurting because of the lies you told. Judith's sobs turned into full-on weeping as she buried her face in her hands. I know. She choked out, I know, and I can't undo what I've done. But Sarah, please, please help him. He listens to you. He loves you. You're the only one who can save him. I stared at her, torn between my anger and my lingering love for Ryan. She looked up at me again, her tear-streaked face filled with regret. I'll do anything, Sarah. I'll tell him the truth. I'll admit everything. Just please don't give up on him. He needs you. I stood there, frozen, unable to process what I was hearing. Judith, the woman who had spent months tearing me down, lying about me, and ruining my life, was now sitting in my living room, begging me for help. Her words echoed in my head, but it was like my brain refused to fully comprehend them. Judith looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, and reached out as if to grab hold of the air between us. Sarah, please, she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of her desperation. He only talks about you, even in his worst moments. When he's completely lost, it's you he calls for. My heart ached hearing that, but I stayed silent, my mind racing. Judith seemed to sense my hesitation, and she leaned forward, her voice growing more frantic. You're the reason he stayed clean, Sarah. You gave him hope, something to live for. Without you, he's spiraling. Please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything to make this right. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm of emotions swirling inside me. Judith's words hung in the air, and as much as I wanted to walk away from all of it, from her lies, from the heartbreak, I couldn't, not when it came to Ryan, the truth revealed, and reconciliation. I'll help, I said quietly, my voice shaking. Judith's tear-streaked face lit up with relief, but I held up a hand to stop her. But I'm not doing this for you, Judith. I'm doing it for Ryan. I love him, and I always have. But what you did, it's unforgivable. I know, she whispered, her voice breaking again. I know, Sarah, and I'll do everything I can to make it right. I'll tell him the truth. I'll admit everything. Just please help me bring him back. I nodded, even though my heart felt like it was being ripped apart all over again. I'll talk to him, I said firmly, but this doesn't mean everything is fine. It's going to take a lot for him to heal, for both of us to heal. Judith wiped her face, nodding furiously. Thank you, she said, her voice barely audible. Thank you, Sarah. As she left, I felt a mix of dread and hope. I didn't know how Ryan would react to the truth, or if we could ever rebuild what we had, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let him fall any further. Not if I could help it. The next day, Judith picked me up, and the ride to Ryan's apartment was tense and silent. She gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white, and I could feel her anxiety radiating off her. I wasn't much better. I kept fidgeting with my hands, my stomach in knots as I thought about what was about to happen. When we arrived, Judith knocked on Ryan's door, her hand trembling slightly. For a moment, it felt like he wouldn't answer, but then the lock clicked and the door creaked open. Ryan stood there, his eyes hollow and red, his face pale. He looked worse than I'd ever seen him, and it broke my heart. His gaze flickered to me and then to Judith, hardening instantly. "What do you want?" he asked, his tone sharp, his body blocking the doorway as if to keep us out. "I'm tired of you and your games." Judith flinched, her breath catching. She hesitated, gripping the strap of her handbag like it was the only thing keeping her steady. "Ryan," she said softly, her voice cracking. That's exactly why I'm here." Ryan's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about?" Judith stepped forward, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I lied, Ryan, about Sarah cheating on you. I made it all up. I paid Erica to say those things. I thought I was protecting you, but I was wrong. So wrong." Ryan's face contorted in disbelief, his arms dropping to his sides. "You paid Erica," he said, his voice rising with each word. "You lied about Sarah. Why the hell would you do that?" Judith sobbed, covering her face with her hands. "I was trying to protect you, Ryan. I thought she wasn't good enough for you. I didn't see what she meant to you, what you meant to each other. I see it now, and I regret everything I've done. Please, I'm begging you, forgive me." Ryan stepped back, shaking his head as if trying to make sense of what he had just heard. His eyes darted to me, filled with guilt and pain. "Sarah, is this true?" he asked, his voice almost breaking. I nodded, slowly, tears welling up in my eyes. "It's true, Ryan. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen." Ryan stared at me for a long moment, his eyes searching mine, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw a flicker of the man I fell in love with. His lips quivered, and then slowly the corners of his mouth turned up into a small, shaky smile. "You were telling the truth," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "You never lied to me. You never gave up on me." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "Never, Ryan. I never stopped loving you." Before I could say another word, he stepped forward and pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly like he was afraid I'd slip away again. His body trembled against mine, and I felt the weight of everything we'd been through in that moment. "I'm so sorry," he murmured, his lips brushing against my temple. "I should have believed you. I should have fought for you. For us." I pulled back just enough to look into his eyes, smiling through my tears. "It's okay," I said softly. "We're here now." And then, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he kissed me tenderly, as if savoring the moment. The pain, the betrayal, and the heartache melted away, replaced by the warmth of knowing we were finally back where we belonged. Together, moving forward, looking back. I still feel the weight of everything we endured. The pain, the betrayal, and the lies left scars that won't heal overnight. I spent countless sleepless nights questioning myself, wondering how people I trusted could hurt me like that. Even now, it's hard to think about Erica. She was my best friend, someone I confided in for years, and she sold me out for money. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her. As for Judith, it's complicated. She's made an effort to make amends, and I can see the genuine regret in her actions. Now, she's softer with me, more respectful, and I think she's finally realized how much Ryan and I mean to each other. But trust that's going to take time. I don't hate her anymore. I can't. What she did was awful. But in the end, she came to me, admitted her lies, and helped Ryan and me find our way back to each other. Ryan, he's my heart. Seeing him smile again, watching him rebuild himself, it's everything I could have hoped for. He's working on his recovery with renewed determination, and I'm right there by his side every step of the way. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure. We're stronger now. What we've been through has only deepened our love and commitment. If this experience has taught me anything, it's that love isn't always easy. It's messy, painful, and at times it feels impossible. But when it's real, when it's worth fighting for, it has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. For Ryan and me, this is just the beginning of the life we're building together. And for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful